Oh, a legend. Glenn Hoddle tweeted out. Didn't know he had a Twitter account, but he tweeted today. Thomas Frank sacked today. He's had some crippling injuries to a lot of talented players he couldn't call upon. A big reason why we didn't see him flourish at Spurs. This is a fact, not excuses. For example, if Joe Root was having to bat with half a bat, you wouldn't expect much.
I mean, I do understand the sentiment, and obviously he never had the likes of Maddison and Kulusevski and injuries that he's got now with half the squad being out. Yes, but on the flip side of that, he still should have done a lot better with the tools that he had at his disposal. The tools that he had at disposal is not relegation fodder. It's really not. He should be at least in the top half at the very minimum. So those kind of words are true, but I don't have too much time for them because he wasn't able to use the tools at his disposal, and the tools were more than good enough to be better than what he is.
Yeah, and before the injuries, we were awful. We were playing awful football. Yeah, I guess in his defence, the results were maybe a bit better, but the football was still awful, and we were getting lucky in a lot of those games. Like, at least last season, pre-injury crisis under Ange, there was evidence of some good football being played and good wins and good performances. And so there was, you could say, look, we were playing well at some points in those periods. It wasn't all bad. Under Frank, you just can't even have that. You don't even have that justification. The results were a bit better, but the performances were awful. The football was awful, and we were getting very, very lucky. So, yeah, as much as it is a reason, you got to say that the injuries have been absolutely atrocious. I don't buy that's the main reason why the football's been bad. It's probably the main reason the results have been this bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not the reason why the football's been this bad. That's down to him.
I think when you've got to look at it from an overall picture, I think everything plays a factor. But I think why we're at in this position in the table where we're at, I think the large percentage of the blame has to go on the manager.
Yeah, absolutely. Henry Winter says, Stick or twist, what a decision the Spurs hierarchy have to make about Frank. Oh no, this is old because they've already sacked him. All right, let's move on from that one. Mzel says, if that's truly how the Spurs players felt, it says a lot about the culture there. Elite players and top clubs will use that as a motivation to raise their standards. When Arteta arrived, he constantly referenced the levels set by City and Liverpool and stressed that we need to match them and compete. This is off the back of the source saying that the players were getting fed up of Thomas Frank going on about Arsenal and how good they are and always talking about them, and when we went to the Emirates.
But I think as well, what was referenced again about Arsenal is the style of play and how we wanted to, take those advantages of set pieces and all those horrible things that Arsenal have been doing over the past year or so. And I think when Arteta, looking at Liverpool and Man City, don't have that deep-rooted rivalry with that club as well. And everyone knows the relationship between Tottenham and Arsenal, and Spurs should never be using Arsenal as a benchmark, ever, even if they're the best team in the world. At least go and point yourselves more to those Man City and Liverpool models, not Arsenal.
And you should be trying to, as much as Arsenal are at the moment top of the league, I understand that they've got something working. You've got to find your own ways of looking at Arsenal and stop trying to copy them and stop. Essentially, it seems as though he was a bit obsessed with how they were playing, what they were doing right, and obviously take a bit of inspiration, but try and also develop some stuff of your own. You're a football manager. You're supposed to have some sort of imagination, creativity or something about how you want to play the game. And banging on about your closest rival and drilling into the players, you're not as good as those guys. That's never going to be setting a good atmosphere, I think, or something. Lily White Rose says, Tottenham, a number of players, this is from The Independent, he says, a number of players felt they did not always understand what they were being asked to do and were left confused by a negative approach in what they perceived as winnable games. And that's what we could see, I think. I think you could see that in a lot of these games, that we felt like we could take the game to the opposition. And when it came out, we were just we would be sitting back and not taking the game, like Brentford away. How defensive were we in that game?
In every away game, let's be honest, there was only even a small number of home games where we were actually on the front foot and took the game to the opposition. So it was 100%. With the players that we have, and I know they're not the best players in the world, but in the club that we are, we should be able to rely on our own strengths and take the game to the opposition. I'm all for tactical flexibility and tactical adaptability, but he actually never showed that. He never showed tactical flexibility or adaptability.
The thing is, I actually disagree in a sense. I think he actually did show adaptability. Well, he was adapting and he was flexible. The big problem for me is he didn't have a plan A. He didn't. He was always reacting. That's what he was only doing, was reacting. He was never proactive. He was never set our team to go after teams. That's why maybe second halves are a bit better, like, because he would have changed things, adapt, and always look, okay, what can we do in the second half to change it? But he never ever had a plan A.
When I mention about adaptability, when I spoke about adaptability when Frank first got the job, I didn't mean. I thought it was a part of it, adapting in the game. But I thought he would devise plans pre-game, in the weeks leading up to the game. Look, we're playing Arsenal this day, we're playing Chelsea this day, we're playing whoever it may be this game, and come up with real good plans how to focus and how to beat the opposition. He hasn't done that. That's the adaptability I'm talking about. And from the off, it's always been terrible. Our first halves have been shocking. And the adaptability in that sense, in being able to devise plans to take down the opposition from the get-go, was non-existent.
Yeah, I think it was an absolute. Yeah, I think that was the main thing with Frank. He never had an in-game possession game plan to take the game to the opposition, and that was a major failing, and that's why we're just so hard to watch, I think.
Yeah.
HLTCO, it felt from the start as though Thomas Frank simply didn't get Spurs to me. It's not really a criticism as such. Sometimes certain personalities just don't mesh. And that was off the back of him talking about how Frank would constantly talk about Arsenal and stuff like that. Yeah, I think definitely Frank didn't really get the club.
No.
I think some of the stuff he's saying was really ridiculous. I can guarantee we're going to lose games. Don't forget we finished 17th last season. Or talk about Arsenal constantly and how good they are, and understand what a big club he's at. And it felt like, because we finished 17th, it felt like maybe he felt like he had to do a Brentford-style job here. That was like what he was asked to do.
That's his naivety. He was too naive coming into this job, Frank. Very, very naive, and he thought he could just manage a club like Tottenham in the same way that he manages a club like Brentford, and it would work. It's never going to work. You need to manage Tottenham like they're Tottenham. You need to manage us like we're a big club, not like we're just trying to survive every season and just get through games and, trust that it's going to get better and we'll go on a few good runs, a few bad runs, and the bad runs don't really matter. As long as we have a few good runs in there, then we'll stay clear of relegation. We'll finish in mid-table. No, we're a club that need to be striving to be into Europe every season. We need to, with the facilities that we have, we need to be striving to be fighting at the top of the league. Not say that we're definitely gonna lose games and all this kind of stuff. The guy never had the right mentality to be the manager of Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, and he just couldn't. I don't think he could motivate these players as well, properly. George Sessions, Frank's mere presence had sucked the life out of Tottenham for weeks, maybe even months. There's a lot of issues at Spurs. It is not only down to Frank. We are in 16th in Feb, but his lack of plan A and a non-existent attacking game made this decision inevitable. I don't know if that's some info he's had in terms of Frank sucking the life out of Spurs. Obviously, we could see that on the pitch anyway. I don't think it took a genius to figure that out. But Yeah, that's kind of what I feel though. That in terms of that lack of plan A, I think that is a big reason why we always came out of games came out in the first half looking clueless. Because I think we were clueless. I think we always came out in first halves reacting to what the opposition were doing and seeing, okay, what are they going to do, and we're going to react to that. And we always left us on the back foot and being very, very passive all the time. And that was a massive failure. The attacking game was just atrocious. Mm-hmm. And look, I was, yesterday, a couple of times, we did play the ball over the top and Odegaard got in behind and we looked dangerous. But it's like, as soon as the opposition figure that out, it's like, that's it. Like, that's our game plan in open play shut down.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we're relying on set pieces again. No surprise yesterday we scored from another set piece. That's the only way we could score.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's he's spot on there. So he did suck the life out of us, I think. Spriv says, in Thomas Frank fashion, his final message to the fans was a lie. This was off the back of Frank saying, I'm 1,000% sure I'm going to be in charge.
Yeah, I knew that was a lie. He did not look convinced in what he was saying at all. There is no chance he thought he was going to be. I think he knew what was about to come. I really do. His demeanour completely changed yesterday as opposed to post and pre the Manchester United game, even before the Newcastle game. He was a bit more defiant in those games. He looked like a beaten man yesterday.
Yeah, he looked like a manager on his last legs, to be honest. Doogie Critchley says only Spurs could get themselves into this position, one-on-one, on 1-1 on the counter-attack, men streaming forward, and then we concede 24 seconds later.
Conor Gallagher, man.
How the hell I don't even know who he was passing to. I don't know if it was Xavi or if it was Tel. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was just so poor, man.
Conor Gallagher, man. Ridiculous.
He passes that into Xavi. We have an opportunity there, and we somehow end up conceding from this. And yeah, it's just it's just your luck for Frank at that point. But in terms of why we're in this position, it's not luck. It definitely isn't.
Yeah.
JJ Bull says, I mean, in all fairness, and yeah, you got to caveat the current situation with this. Obviously, this is just a horrendous situation, isn't it? You have to say it is.
Of course, it's a horrendous situation, but even before we got the crazy injuries, we were terrible and we didn't pick up enough points.
And we're just playing terrible. The problem is the problems that we have now are the same problems we had pre-injuries.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the same issues.
The only difference is now we have to use the same players every game, and obviously fatigue is going to set in even more.
Yeah, big problem obviously in Newcastle yesterday. They can bring on Wissa, Voltmaid, Tonali, and we don't have that luxury, and obviously that's going to affect you. But what's the reason for the first half? You know what I mean? When Frank says I can't, the patterns of play aren't there because of the injuries, I'm like, I don't know if I don't buy that excuse totally. Like, I think injuries can affect you in certain ways, but whatever I want to say about Ange, like he had Brian Hill and Johnson and Skip in certain games, and we were still popping it around. Like we still saw patterns of play, even with injuries and depleted team. We could still see patterns of play. We were conceding goals because obviously we had no defence and our defence was being caught and whatever. And that's why injuries cost us results, but it didn't cost us patterns of play. So to say we have no patterns of play because of injuries, I don't know.
That is a clear coaching issue.
Yeah.
That is a clear coaching issue. And that's 100% spot on. I remember going to Man City away with Brian Hill on the wing. And
Emerson and Davis.
Yeah, and look, we conceded a lot of chances that day, don't get me wrong, but we were able to hurt Man City going the other way. And we showed loads of, examples of patterns of play that day. Loads of examples. And I think Brian Hill probably doesn't get into the team that even played yesterday with the ravaged injuries. So that just shows you everything.
That's the point I would make to him. Tottenham XG trend lines from Nuno Conte handoff through to now. Frank created the attack from the Ange period. All injuries did, he says, but couldn't get the defence sorted well enough to matter. You can see here that that's from Conte, the beginning, and then you see big upturn in Conte. Change in season, so that's when Ange comes in, I'm guessing. Oh no, this is Conte, then Ange, big uptick in attacking, then massive drop off. So the change in seasons here, this is Frank on that second to last line. And then you can see the attack massively drops off. Even worse than the worst under Ange. How mad is that? Like, it's worse than anything we saw even last season. And yet the defence didn't really improve.
Yeah.
Maybe improved a bit here, but still not massively. And there you have it. Like, the attack dropped like a cliff, and the defence barely improved.
And also, he had Romero and Van de Ven for the large portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ange didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom Orner says, Thomas Frank sacked by Tottenham. Venkatesh recommended the decision to the owners last night. Even with mitigating factors, injuries, and squad, decided there just hasn't been enough on the pitch. Yeah, and look, do you reckon Vinay's been thinking about it? Was last night was it, do you think, for him, a straw that broke the camel's back, or do you think he's been thinking about it before? Because everyone's saying Vinay's been the main guy backing Frank, haven't they?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think it's ridiculous that it must have come into his thinking process beforehand. And I think, like, after the West Ham game, we all heard that the club were thinking about it, and maybe he was digging his heels in, and people in the boardroom were of the opinion that they wanted to sack him. And obviously we heard about Fabio as well, how he wanted to sack him a while before that. But I just get the feeling reality set in when we went 3 points, when we went to 3 points with the relegation battle. And I think at that point is the point where panic really started to settle in, because I think before the game yesterday, me and you were saying, like, the club and a lot of the fans are not taking this threat of relegation seriously. But when it goes down to 3 points, then there's no choice but to take it seriously.
Even if for a minute, doesn't matter how long it's for.
Yeah, and we ended the game 3 points above the relegation zone yesterday. And I think when that happens, you got no choice but to panic and make a decision, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the thinking was from Vina. Look, with 3 points now, he has to go. We need a change here, no matter what it is.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Squawk Alive via the Spurs Express says Thomas Frank recorded just 1.12 points per game in the Premier League, the lowest points per game on record among all Spurs managers to oversee 5+ matches in all competitions. Yeah, we know that, don't we? Terrible. Hunter Godson says it's scary watching the intensity of West Ham compared to Spurs tonight. These players can smell survival while we're playing every match like it's a pre-season friendly. I guess this is going into last night a bit, but
you know what? Most first half do feel like pre-seasons.
Yeah, and you know what? We had the West Ham game on here, and we were just watching them like they truly are fighting for everything. You know, I think the difference between, you know, a lot of the difference between those sides and us at the moment is when you watch them play, they're playing like they're fighting for their survival. Like they understand the situation they're in. They need win every duel, and everything matters. Whereas at Tottenham, it's like the players don't realise that we are absolutely smack bang in this relegation battle. It's almost as if it hasn't hit them yet, and that when you're watching the two teams play, there's a massive difference.
So I don't understand how people, particularly within the club, cannot take that seriously. When you see the form that West Ham are on, when you see the form that we're on, and you look at the form in the last 20 games compared to the other teams that we're supposed to be fighting against, like, how is the alarm bells not going off quicker than they did?
Yeah, I don't know how it took for that to happen. It's crazy. MR Dang says Somerville, Ramsey, Rodgers, Harry Wilson, Trossard, Eze scored their first goals of 25-26 against Tottenham. Is that true?
Well, Somerville did. Rodgers did.
Did Wilson score his first goal against us?
Nah, it can't be.
It might have been.
Let's check.
He went on a mad run after. Not surely Trossard.
I'm sure Wilson was on a run.
Also, don't think Eze did. I think Eze scored the week before.
Harry Wilson's first goal of the season came against Brentford. Yeah, early on in the season.
Okay.
Yeah, he scored a few weeks before he played against us as well, against Wolves.
Okay, so that's just not totally true, that tweet. James Forster says Conte lost his head when Spurs were in 4th, which is ambition. Thomas has us in 16th and doesn't want anyone panicking. This was off the back of Frank says, there's been a few before me at Tottenham that have lost their head, but we need to stick together and keep a calm head. Talking about Conte, I guess, referencing
Look,
him,
I do agree we need a calm head, but we also need a guy that actually gets what it means to be Tottenham manager. We need a guy that shows tactical ways to actually win games. We need so much more than just a calm head. If he's saying a calm head is all we need, then he's lost the plot.
Yeah, but also it's also like, why is he talking about that when those managers were losing their heads at not being top four, as this guy saying?
Yeah, exactly. I was actually thinking about this last night. It's just like, shows you how far the club have fallen when at one point it was like, if there's no sign of getting top four, that's when the manager loses his job. Now, the manager only loses his job when we're 3 points outside the relegation zone.
Yeah, it's gone crazy. Like, people even put him and Arteta in the same conversation when it comes to giving him time. Arteta never got Arsenal abroad in a relegation battle. That just never was the case.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where we are. Paddy Power said the sad thing for Tottenham is that they can't rely on a visit of Dr. Tottenham to improve their form. Classic. Another Dr. Tottenham yesterday. Newcastle 5 games out of win, 2 wins in away from home all season, and come to us to win.
You know, loads of Spurs fans, including myself, were so positive before the game. I was in the Bricklayers before the game, and I was, in and around the stadium talking to people, and everyone's like, "Surely we got to do it today. We can do it today. We can do it today."
Why are you so sure? Count Binface says Spurs have just asked my agent if I'm available to the end of the season. Get Binface in till the end of the season.
Bring him in.
Get Binface in. Nuno got 9 points from 5 home games, winning 3. Frank has 10 points from 13 home games, winning 2, which is a stat we read out before. But that is insane how Nuno has more home wins than Frank in the Premier League. That is just nuts.
It's embarrassing.
How
he
is that
lasted 3
possible?
months in a job.
How is that possible? I don't know how that... That is just one of the most insane stats I've ever seen.
It's depressing, man.
So Tottenham are top 4 in Europe, but they aren't even top 15 in England. Yeah, currently 16th after Leeds got a draw, by the way. Leeds drew, so we dropped down another place. And if Forest win, who are they playing today? If they win today, we're now level on points with 17th.
So Forest play Wolves at home.
Fucking hell. Of all the games, Wolves at home, bloody hell. Alright, so we're going to be level on points with 17th by the end of today. Oh, hunky-dory, wunderbar. Newcastle tweeting out a confused face. This was the picture of Joe Willock and how close the offside decision was in the first half. That is just crazy. If his forehead was a little smaller, he's onside there.
Yeah.
Literally the inches. He must be absolutely fuming. We got absolutely away with that one, didn't we? Crazy decision.
Couldn't believe
Forehead
it when
offside.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it on the big screen. I was like, bloody hell! Like, it was nothing short of we deserved.
Johnny Blaine says, I just can't. He says, Vicario standing in Chick King again. You have to say, what is that positioning?
I know. He's the whole goal open.
I don't understand it. Like, I understand if it was Gordon, let's say, if you make the picture bigger, Sammy. If it's Gordon taking the shot, I think that positioning makes sense. But it's with Ramsey, he's right in the centre of the goals. He's giving him. No wonder it's too late to react.
I think Vicario is also Frank out.
It must be, because what is that? He is literally leaving half the goal empty there, and it's obviously going to be very hard for him to get across.
Yeah.
If he just takes a step to the left, his left, like, he saves it probably.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how his position. I guess, look, it was a pass in from Gordon, wasn't it? So he has to readjust quickly, but you're paid millions to do that, aren't you? Like, I think that's horrendous.
Any professional goalkeeper worth their salt makes a shift to the left there.
And I think his positioning's actually been a problem for a few goals now. I think it was the Rodgers goal at home where I think his positioning was all wrong. I think the Forest goal where he got caught out by Hudson-Odoi from a cross. I thought his position was horrendous for that. When we lost to Brighton, we drew to Brighton, that goal from Ayari, I thought his positioning was terrible for that. So that's something which Wasn't a problem, it seemed, last year, and now all of a sudden that seems to be an issue.
Yeah.
BR Football says Tottenham have still not won a Premier League game in 2026 after losing to Newcastle. Relegation battle begins. That's Frank standing next to Ange. Don't you dare. Not to my Ange. Not my Ange. Different. 30 out. This was obviously the counter-attack. Yeah, look how... Yeah, if you actually pause it as well, like, look how many Spurs players are ahead of the Newcastle players. Like when Gallagher has the ball, like when he's just when he's just about to release it. If you can maybe scroll to where he's like about to release it. Forward, like here around here. Look how many Spurs players without a Newcastle player in sight. It's like 5 on 4 there, or 6 on 4. All these, if he just holds it a bit, he's not even under pressure to pass it. He doesn't have to pass it there. He could have just kept running. Like I don't understand that.
What happens though? Does he kick the floor or something?
I think he just underweights the pass. Maybe he kicks the floor. And it's just horrendous. It's actually impressive to find a Newcastle player of the sea of Tottenham players. It's like it needs pinpoint accuracy to somehow find the Newcastle player. But look, there's 3 there. There's another player actually out of shot to the right. There you go, running in. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Tottenham players against 4 Newcastle players.
It was the only time in the game as well where we had a numerical advantage.
7 on 4 there. 7 on 4.
The only time in the whole game.
And he didn't have to release it. To be fair, it is Dragusin on the overlap there. I don't know if that's anything. But anyway, we then, to add insult to injury, we then concede straight away. Probably because we were on 7 on 4.
Matty's tail had a big chance as well. Should have put it in the back.
Yeah, from Odebear. Yeah, that was a good chance. Mark stats, as for the relegation battle, Leeds are the best team right now. West Ham on a positive trend. Spurs looked optimistic but are now back to their season average, and Forest are the worst team at the moment with them. So this is an expected goal difference. This is your XG minus, your XG against, rolling. So Spurs are kind of that dark blue line.
Yeah.
And we've raised a bit and now we've fallen again. This is in the last 10 matches. So it's minus, was a bit of plus recently, but now back to minus. But it says Leeds are doing all right. Forest are the ones with the worst at the moment, as we're saying. But yeah, it's not great for us either. We're that dark blue line. This is in terms of relegation scrap. Doesn't make for great reading. It's quite close between us and West Ham. West Ham are cool. But the thing is, the thing to learn is that West Ham massively caught up on us.
Well,
look at the difference a few games ago.
Well,
that pink line and now.
Well,
now
you just look at all those teams. Obviously, Leeds are not on an upward trajectory, but they're still above us, and it doesn't look like we're going to overtake them anytime soon. You've got who are in the pink, West Ham.
Yeah.
They've started off on the shit and they've just gradually increasing and improving weeks on end. Yeah. We're going down, and Nottingham Forest and Nottingham Forest, but. The thing that Nottingham Forest have is Sean Dyche, and he's a firefighter and he knows how to manoeuvre these kind of situations.
Yeah, been there and done it. Nathan A. Clark says, Thomas, the end of last season was 1 year ago. He says, I understand the frustration. We're in a position we don't want to be in. It's also a situation the club has been in for almost 2 years at the end of last season as well. Nathan A. Clark just making the point that we ended the season a year ago to this point. But I understand. It is fair to say for Frank to give him a bit of grace. This was definitely a situation we struggled with last season in the sense that juggling Europe and juggling Premier League together, there was too much for our squads. We haven't been able to get ahead of that. And how we get ahead of it going forward, obviously we're probably not going to have to deal with it next season, but how we get ahead of it in the future, I don't know, it's something we're going to have to deal with, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is definitely something that we failed last season to deal with, but Frank was supposed to come in as the antidote to that, and he's obviously massively failed to deal with it as well. That's obviously been a major issue. Hugo says, I am sorry, but we gave you the best summer window of any Spurs manager during my lifetime. We have 2 wins in 3 months in the league. We have been outplayed in every single one of those games without the set pieces. We can't score a single goal. You are the problem.
He is. I mean, I wouldn't say he's the problem, but he is a problem, and a problem that needed changing a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I would not say he's the problem at this football club, but he's definitely a big problem. Put it that way.
Footballing-wise, he is. I think he's the main reason. What I took from this interview, this video, by the way, is obviously the interviewer was asking about his future of many, many times, and he was getting frustrated with it. If you look at the evils he was giving him right when he ends the interview, he gives him this look. Is it right at the end? Is that right at the end of this video? Like, just is it?
I think you cut it off in this one.
On this one it cuts off. Okay, don't worry about it. But there's one video where he shows he's walking off. He gives him these proper staring evils. It's so funny. Maori says they really couldn't believe what they were seeing. They're experiencing what Tottenham fans during matches. Yeah, they became fans. Look at their faces. There was actually a point.
Look at Maddison.
Yeah, Maddison can't believe what he's seeing. Who was that? Porro. Porro's just looking down at the ground. He's like, this is what Tottenham fans have to experience. Romero looks absolutely... But there was a period, actually, they cut to Romero and he was like smirking a bit at the early parts of the game. I don't know what that was about, but obviously, whatever, maybe something was funny said. But yeah, you can see they're looking like, what is this shit? And there's now definitely rumours coming out about them, Romero, Van de Ven, being one specifically unhappy with Frank, which is interesting considering they're the ones, especially early on, who seem to be really buying into him, and they're the ones who've been saving him every week as well. Literally, Romero has probably saved his job a few times.
Yeah.
Since he's been here, so it's injuring to.
But I think it's because they've got standards as well.
Yeah, you're probably right. They've got standards themselves.
This is what I was saying before, though, about standards of the players, and you see first halves of football when we go down and we go 2-0 down and we're in the relegation zone. At least with Romero and Van de Ven, you can see clear effort levels, and if you don't want to do it for the badge, you don't want to do it for the manager. At least they're doing it for themselves. You know what I mean? There's standards that some of these players have.
Yeah, agreed. Spurs Global says the Frank cycle, the cycle of torture, unwatchable first half and go into halftime losing, show fire in the second half but still draw or lose. Board decide to keep him for the next game, and then the cycle continued. Well, the cycle's been broken. The cycle has been broken, so that's all right. Nick Wright says, game's officially gone. There was a photo shoot at half-time. Any idea what this was about?
Who is it?
No idea. I can't tell. Was this... Any idea who that was? There was a photo shoot.
Is that our new interim manager?
Maybe. Maybe I don't understand. Anyone know who that was in the chat? Anyone know what that was about? There was a photo shoot at half-time. Let us know in the comment section or the chat at the moment. I don't know, but not a great look, is it? But anyway, Luca THFC says, "What in the effing f? Tottenham completed 3 passes between minute 15 and 20. Bloody hell! Went 5 minutes between 3 passes." Nubaid Haroon says, "Spurs deserve this. They didn't appreciate Ange, and now they've got anti-Ange in every possible way." This was obviously comparing after 25 games. Was 26 now, so it's before.
Is that last season?
Yeah, 25 games last season, 30 points. We're now on 29. Goals scored, wow, 14 goals less. 2 goals less conceded, though. And 3 positions worse off. Chris Cowling, extremely loud boos. Yeah, we saw that. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, toxic boos yesterday. Oh. Wasn't the first time we'd heard that at the end of a game.
It was probably the loudest it's been, and I keep coming on the fan show and being like, that's the loudest boos I've heard. But they just keep getting increasingly louder.
There's just new lows every single week.
Yeah, yesterday as well, there were more chants for Maurizio Pochettino in the stands.
Yeah, everyone's ready for his return, aren't they? Scissor comps, Dragosheed. Well, I mean, yeah, that pass was... Oh, that's classic Dragosheed, is it? Still waiting for the calls from Madrid and Barca, isn't he?
That was a shot. It wasn't a pass.
That was a shot, you think? Think so?
Dragosheed levels, yeah, that's a shot.
I don't know what maybe.
I'm saying it was such a bad pass, it could be called a shot.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Should have been.
Obviously, it was a pass, yeah.
Pro Tottenham says, how the actual F can you look at the stats and still believe Thomas Frank is the man for this team? Yeah, look, he's been sacked now, so I guess this is all redundant. One of the funny thing, if you go down to this one, but from Bardi, so this is Frank with his tactics board. No, up yet. And someone replied saying, he definitely has us as the red team, doesn't he? he definitely, 100% he does. 100% he has us as the red team.
Well, you
Guarantee it.
could see he does. Ridiculous.
God. Anyway, that's it. That is...
Well, that's his everlasting image, isn't it? Forget the Gooner Cup, his bloody tactics board.
Him and his bloody tactics board.
Look, that is the way the internet did react. We're going to bring